Good morning from Kansas City. Welcome to SportsBeat Live, our first Chiefs regular season show presented by First Federal Bank. This is the show where we talk Kansas City Chiefs with folks in the media who know them best and with you. Send us your questions and comments and talk Chiefs with Herbie T.O.P. and Jesse Newell, the beat writers, and columnists Sam McDowell and Vahe Gregorian. It's great to see all of you guys. Gosh, it's been since training camp in St. Joe just a few weeks ago. But yeah, we're going to do this. The plan is to do it every Thursday, except for next week because the Chiefs play on Thursday. So next week we'll do it on Wednesday, but every week throughout the season and after Chiefs game. So you'll hear from us on Sunday after the Chiefs play the Arizona Cardinals. So yes, 3:30 game or 3:25. I don't know what the official start time is, but it's the afternoon window on CBS, Chiefs versus the Cardinals. And so the first question, I'll get the ball rolling here with the first question, and we'll send it Sam McDowell's way. Sam, Chiefs have won 7 straight opening games and 8 of 9 under Andy Reid. What is it about an Andy Reid coach team, maybe in addition to being very talented, that allows them to get off to such great starts?
Well, I do think Andy Reid runs a unique training camp in comparison to the rest of the league. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster gave us a glimpse of that when he said the first day was the hardest day of training camp he'd ever had. And then Andy Reid walked to the podium and told us that, it was just a light day that was going to get tougher over the next week. So I think there's something to the way he still does it a little bit old school. We all heard his answer when he was asked why he does it old school. He still believes in specific drills that some other teams have eliminated. Obviously, the Chiefs still go to St. Joe. They feel like they have a bonding experience. The intriguing part of this matchup is the Cardinals are really good early in the season in comparison to the latter half of the season as well. So you kind of have two storms here that, I know the Cardinals were without DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sure we'll get into that, but you've got two teams that sort of fit this description of that play well in September under their current head coaches.
Yeah, look, the Chiefs are very good, and I think we say at every training camp, it's just a unique time for the Chiefs. They do put in a lot of work and effort into their training camp. Vahe, what do you think?
I really just wanted to augment a point Sam McDowell made and cue people to his season preview in which he forecasts the Chiefs being 12-5. Part of that is the connection between Andy Reid and openers and bye weeks, right? The extra amount to prepare. And I just wanted to cite the stat that Sam brought up that Andy is, what did you use? 737-1 in games after the bye week. That's my whole reason for jumping in.
Took me a long time to track all those 738 games. Yeah.
Hey, we often because this is the first week and mistakes get made during the first week. We like to start with injuries. I was so excited though about the Andy Reid opening question, but Herbie, Chiefs don't have much on the injury front going on this week, do they? And they are pretty darn healthy. It's Arizona that maybe we need to get an injury report from.
Yeah, that injury report in Arizona is probably about 3 pages long, and essentially everyone is day to day. It reminds me of the days of Bill Belichick, where he would list everyone as questionable leading into the game. All gamemanship. We'll see what happens on Friday when they actually have to assign game day designations. But for the Chiefs, they are relatively healthy. They only had 4 players listed on Wednesday's injury report. It was Juju Smith-Schuster with the knee, Trey Smith with the shoulder, Deion Bush with a foot, and then Malik Herring with a stomach injury. But they all practiced fully, and Juju Smith-Schuster talked to us yesterday for the first time since July the 29th, and he gave himself a full bill of health, saying my knee is fully healthy. He dealt with some knee soreness in the month of August, did not play in 2 preseason games. But the Chiefs are entering this game with a full bill of health. Barring a setback, all 4 of those players should be available.
Okay. And for Arizona, we don't know about DeAndre Hopkins, right? Oh, we know him, right? He's out. He's suspended and will miss the first 6 weeks. But, Ertz and Watts,
J.J. Watt, yeah.
showing up on the injury report.
Yeah, and Cliff Kingsbury said yesterday, and just from reading all the Arizona Cardinals beat reporters' tweets, they're all day to day.
Yeah, it means they're all playing. I mean, come on, who are we kidding here? They're all playing. You're right. Total gamesmanship, even from a guy who's only been in the NFL for a few years. It's so old, so been done. So something else I'm curious about. A lot of new faces for this Chiefs team this year, right? No Tyreek Hill, no Tyrann Mathieu, several others, gone, replaced in part by newcomers, especially from the draft class. How many, Herbie? How many rookies are going to start on Sunday?
Well, I think you're probably going to see Leo Chanel. Did I get it right, Jesse? He's probably going to be out there with the linebackers alongside Nick Bolton and Willie Gay. Sky Moore is not necessarily going to start, but he'll see some time in the rotation. It would not surprise me if the Chiefs rolled out some kind of speed package to try to contain that quarterback over there, Kyler Murray, who can do some damage outside. So maybe Karlaftis gets a start. But it'd be interesting to see how the Chiefs devise that scheme inside. Oh, and don't forget Trent
McDuffie. Their first draft pick. So, so Jesse, what are some potential with all the new faces, right? And playing in their first regular season game for the Chiefs. What are some of the things maybe you're going to look for early on in the season that that might be a potential pitfall for a team that has a lot of new guys? We're new wide receivers, new defensive backs, a lot of newness on this team.
Yeah, this is definitely a team you could see getting better as the season goes on. And I think the number one thing on offense to me, and I've got a story coming out tomorrow at the Kansas City Star just about Patrick Mahomes prefers his receivers to run blurry lines of the playbook. And that means that there are lines you're supposed to run in the playbook, but he kind of wants you to break it off if that's not open, or if there's a defender there, just stop and he'll find you. So he kind of is like a little bit, I compare it to pick and roll in basketball. Like you set the screen and then you adjust to what the defense does. And that's kind of what the Chiefs do on the fly in the NFL. But you've got all these new dudes. Like you got Sky Moore, you got Juju Smith-Schuster, you got Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So are those guys going to react to Patrick Mahomes? And again, worst case scenario, are those mistakes going to end up as not just incompletions, but maybe interceptions? So can you avoid the big mistake as you're trying to do things as Patrick wants them done? And then defensively, you just got a lot of guys in new roles. I mean, Nick Bolton is the green dot. I mean, that's something Herbie can tell you. That's a big deal. I mean, that's a guy taking on a huge role in his second year. We expect him to be good this year, but we haven't seen it in regular season games, him taking on that responsibility of full time. So there's that. Trent McDuffie, again, seems like he has a high floor, seems like he's been solid so far, but Kyler Murray's got a really big arm. And sometimes when he breaks contain, he's kind of like Patrick Mahomes used to be. He's looking deep. He's looking down the field. And so, again, I expect the Chiefs as a whole to be pretty good, but we know in the NFL, mistakes lose you games. I mean, one turnover, one blown coverage, big plays. It's kind of like the three-pointers of the NBA or college basketball. Those are the things that can lose you a game when things are basically even the rest of what else is going on statistically. So that'll be what I'm watching with that. But they've got a lot of new faces, as you talked about, Blair. They need those guys to be high-floor guys they can depend on. Talking about George Karlaftis, Brian Cook, Trent McDuffie. If they can just be reliable, I think they're okay. But, again, we don't know all of that until the real season kicks off, and that's why Sunday is going to be so intriguing.
To Jesse's point about the wide receivers understanding what Mahomes wants, I think Patrick Mahomes said something yesterday that kind of like caught my ear. He was asked, you have Justin Watson coming from Tom Brady, Juju Smith-Schuster coming from Roethlisberger, Marquez Valdes-Scantling coming from Aaron Rodgers, and if he's noticed a difference in these kinds of receivers who have played with elite quarterbacks. Mahomes said, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, but when you get receivers like that who have played with some of these high-end elite type quarterbacks, they understand what the quarterback wants, and it's not just the route. They anticipate if there's going to be some kind of improvising on the play, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Indeed. Hey, so Rob asks, Bills are getting a lot of national love. Who else will the Chiefs' biggest threat be in the AFC? What do you think, Vahe?
Well, I think to me it still starts with the Bengals. I mean, regardless of how they stack up with others, if they're a postseason team, they've been kryptonite to the Chiefs, right? So we'll see, and we'll get a glimpse of that later in the season. And I think, sort of closer to home, I think one of the most intriguing teams on the Chiefs schedule and in the AFC is the Chargers. We'll see what comes with that. I think pretty advantageous for the Chiefs to have their first meeting with them be their opener at Arrowhead. But those are the first teams that come to mind, along with the Bills, at least in the AFC.
I'm with you on the Chargers. I think there's plenty of talent on the Chargers roster. There was last year too, and they missed the playoffs by a bad coaching decision in the final game of the season, an overtime loss. So, I think we've identified the Bills. I noticed the Bills are getting all sorts of national attention. It's a big thing on was it NFL Network? Jesse, wasn't it a lot of love for the Bills? And I'm not sure Chiefs fans should get upset about it, but it's social media. It's, not Chiefs plus, type of argument. So people are going to get ticked off.
I mean, the Bills are the favorites from the Super Bowl. If you go to Vegas right now, they have the shortest odds. So it's just not a slight to the Chiefs that the Bills are considered good. And I mean, let's just be completely honest, guys. Like last year, the Chiefs should have lost to the Bills and they should have beat the Bengals. You know what I mean? And we have completely different discussions today if that's actually what happened. Now, it didn't happen, and the Chiefs did pull the rabbit out of the hat against the Bills, but the Bills looked plenty good against the Chiefs in those two meetings last year and definitely good enough to win both those games if Mahomes didn't have his magic.
The Bills are a product of, what the Chiefs are going to be seeing for the entirety of Patrick Mahomes' contract, which is you're going to see a different team pop up every 3 to 4 years that's the new challenger to the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are going to try and be the steady force that competes for the duration. But the Bills pushed all their chips in the middle of the table for this year. I mean, they signed a bad Von Miller contract, a 33-year-old defensive edge, specifically because they want to beat the Chiefs this year. And so you're going to see that, I think, like I said, over the duration of Patrick Mahomes' contract, where every 2 or 3 years – there's going to be a different team that's going to be the new hot team to pick. But there's legitimate reasons to think that the Bills are a really good team. And if you think the Chiefs are the second best team in football, which I'm in that category, that's not thinking that the Chiefs, as it was asked to Patrick Mahomes yesterday, it's not slander towards the Kansas City Chiefs to think they might be the second best team in the NFL this year.
Hey, Sam, let me jump in real quick. If you're talking about those teams too, think about when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl in 2019. What happened? They had their wizard quarterback. He was on a cheap deal. They went out and got the pieces they needed because this was the time to go for it. They went out and got Sammy Watkins. We're going to compare teams. That's the Chargers this year, right? They got Justin Herbert. He's on his third year, right? Is that right? So, third or fourth year. They went out and they got the J.C. Jacksons of the world. They went out and got the pieces. They, like the Bills, are tired of losing to the Chiefs. So like you said, they push their chips in. They're using some of that capital they have by having a really good, cheap, young quarterback. And again, so why would it be bad to look at this big picture and say, hey, this could be the Chargers' year? I know there's question marks about them. I know that there's been a lot of analysts that picked them over time. But if you look on paper and look at their roster and look at what they did in the offseason, it's very similar to what the Chiefs did in 2019. That led to the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl.
Such slander and hatred. It is funny how it's become, in a broader sense, right? Jesse, you had a good tweet about this yesterday, but the broader sense, like if you pick somebody else as the better team, it means you have hatred for everything else. I think we know we're not in a very nuanced era anymore, but it's kind of the coin of the realm.
And didn't the entire AFC West just do what Sam suggested the Bills have done? They went all in for this year, including draft capital that the Chiefs piled up for this year and next. I think that of the teams in the division, the Chiefs' window of opportunity, even though quarterback situation is pretty strong in the entire division, as Cody mentioned, Russell Wilson with the Broncos and Justin Herbert and Derek Carr, even though quarterback situations are just the teams feel comfortable with who they have there. The Chiefs, because of the moves that they made and the draft picks that they've stocked, are in a much better position to keep their window of championship opportunity open than the other teams in the division and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of the theme of this offseason for the Chiefs. They came to that crossroads with the Tyreek Hill deal to decide how long do they want this window to be open, or do they want to be really good this year? You know, I personally think that the Chiefs would be better off with Tyreek Hill as opposed to that collection of receivers they currently have in the room. But not for next year, because they would have lost him for free. Not for the year after, the year after, the year after, if they had signed him for, $28 million a year. That was the whole purpose of their offseason. What's interesting, though, about the way the Bills and specifically the Chargers built it is they attacked positions that they thought would match up well with the Chiefs. You know, when the Chiefs built this thing, it was, let's just be the best team in the NFL. The Bills have just flat out acknowledged they're building their team, specifically with their safeties and now with adding Von Miller on the edge, to match up with the Chiefs. They feel like the Chiefs are the team to beat. They need to match up with them. And I think when you look at the Chargers edition, Jesse mentioned J.C. Jackson, but also Khalil Mack, I think it's the same way. They built their team specifically to match up as well as they can with the Chiefs. It's complimentary. I mean, it's a compliment whenever you see other teams doing that based on the way your team is built, and they're trying to build just to beat you.
Yeah, let's be honest, Sam. I mean, the Chiefs have pissed everybody off. I mean, that's what this is. The Bills are tired of losing to the Chiefs. The Chargers are tired of losing to the Chiefs. The Raiders are tired of losing to the Chiefs. The Broncos are tired of losing to the Chiefs. They're tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes win all these awards and the Chiefs win all these games. So they stuck their neck out there this year and made some short-term decisions this offseason to try to chase down the Chiefs. And so, like you said, Sam, that's a compliment to the Chiefs, but yet it is a reality the Chiefs have to face as the other teams are trying to catch up to them.
Okay, let's go to a break. We're going to hear from First Federal Bank. I want to ask these guys when we come back where they think the Chiefs got better or the Chiefs got worse at a position group over last season. Okay, let's hear from First Federal.
When I bought my first home, I was searching for listings and negotiating all on my own. Now I'm back in the housing market and I could not imagine doing that again. But then I found First Federal Bank of Kansas City's expert loan advisors at ffbkc.com. They were kind, knowledgeable, and available 24/7. My loan advisor answered my questions and helped me feel confident all the way through closing. I trust First Federal Bank because they understand banking is personal. Apply today for a home loan at ffbkc.com/homes. First Federal Bank of Kansas City. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
We're back on SportsBeat Live, presented by First Federal, and we're here with Vahe Gregorian, Jesse Newell, and Sam McDowell. Herbie Teope has left the building. He's on his way to the Chiefs facility, where he will be reporting from the day's news events, as will everybody else here in a few minutes. Herbie just has a little farther to go than the rest of us. So, all right, guys, let's get to a couple questions here first. Brian says that Leo Chenal starting is a little bit of a surprise based on his preseason playing time. Jesse, why don't you take that? What do you think? That's, of course, in a base defense. And we saw Elijah Lee get more snaps in the preseason, didn't we?
We did. We saw Leo Chenal make up a lot of ground late. So we saw that in the third preseason game. I believe Chenal started in that one. The other part about this with Elijah Lee is Elijah Lee's still currently on the practice squad. And so they haven't made the Blake Bell move yet. We anticipate that's going to be to put Elijah Lee back on the active roster. But the Chiefs usually kind of hold the cards close to the vest on these sorts of games and don't make that move until late. So as of right now, you would expect Leo Chenal, with what he did lately, to take that base role. But as you mentioned, Blair, and this is something I wrote about earlier this week, the Arizona Cardinals under Cliff Kingsbury, they love their receivers. They love to throw receivers out on the field, kind of like an old spread offense in the Big 12. So the Chiefs might not be in base that much this game at all anyway. So he kind of fills that role for them. Might be kind of a limited thing, especially against Arizona. But if they do start out that way, then I would expect Leo to be out there.
Okay, let's look at the position by position. Just kind of a quick thought on if the Chiefs improved that the position group over a year ago when they won their sixth straight division title, finished 12-5, got to the AFC Championship game for the fourth straight year. Of course, lost the heartbreaker to the Bengals at Arrowhead Stadium. But I think it's a given that Patrick Mahomes and the quarterback group, although it's a different group because Jay Buechele was part of it. Let's let's just acknowledge that Patrick Mahomes is a year better, year older, year better, and the quarterback is not impacted by this. But wide receiver is in a big way with 4 new options for Patrick Mahomes this year, which means gone are Tyreek Hill and Byron Pringle, Demarcus Robinson, and in are the players we mentioned, the 4 players we mentioned in the first part of the show, plus Sky Moore and Watson, who came from Tampa Bay last year. Sam, what do you think? Did the Chiefs get better at wide receiver, worse, or is it going to take some time to determine that?
Yeah, and it's a difficult one because the bottom of the depth chart is clearly better, but you lost the top guy. So I think overall they're worse because I just think Tyreek Hill is that unique of a player. I think he's one of one. I don't think there's another guy like him in the NFL. I also think he very evidently made defenses completely change the way they play the Chiefs, specifically because he was on the field. I don't think they have another receiver that fits that description. I wonder about the attention that Travis Kelce's going to get as he turns 33 this year because Tyreek Hill's not there. So I do think there's going to be situations, and I've written about it pretty quickly after the Tyreek Hill trade that they're going to be aided by the fact that they're not going to be so predictable because Tyreek Hill's not there. They're going to spread the ball around more. That's good for the quarterback. That may get defenses to break out of their deep shells that they played the Chiefs last year, which would be a great thing for the Chiefs. But overall, on that group, I do think they're worse without Tyreek Hill.
Okay. What do you think, Vahe?
Well, I just add, I think it's a clear step back in the moment you trade Tyreek Hill. On the other hand, I think there's a chance for 2 steps forward out of it when you've got a stronger base, you've got a lot of experienced talent and yet new to this, right? So we don't know how it looks on this canvas. But I think the versatility, I could be wrong, but I think the versatility is going to end up being pretty meaningful. And I do think they still have a couple guys that can take the lid off. It's not Tyreek Hill speed, but I think they've got a couple guys that can do that and open the field up a little bit. The other thing I just sort of came to mind now, they were really plagued by a lot of drop passes last year. And let's see how this gets cleaned up a little bit with this group. And maybe it won't be, but that was a factor last season.
Well, and early on, the deflected interception was too much with the Chiefs, right? Balls going off of hands and shoulder pads and into the arms of what did Mahomes have, like 7 interceptions in the first 4 or 5 games, which is just so unusual for him. And of course, that got cleaned up as the year went on. How about running back? That's kind of an interesting position group this year. Not a ton of change, but the addition of Isaiah Pacheco and the fact that the Chiefs kept 4 running backs instead of 3 and only 5 wide receivers instead of 6. What does that? I don't know, Sam. What does that tell us about what the Chiefs might be thinking? And are they better off at running back this year?
Look, I don't mind taking a shot, but I'm going to pass this one because Jesse has been all over a couple.
Oh, I know. He's our Mr. Running Back editor.
I'm gonna have to just have the assist on this one to Jesse here.
I just figured, Sam, I was wanting you to talk about all the great things Isaiah Pacheco can do and all the great things.
Well, that's why it was so short. That's why my comment was so short. That's what I was listening.
I'm just waiting for all your glowing comments about how you love Isaiah Pacheco. He's obviously going to be the offensive rookie of the year. Running back is probably about the same. It's a weakness on this team. I mean, right now it's a weakness, and we've talked a little bit about this before. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they got to see something this year, and I think early in the season they're going to figure out whether, when he's healthy, he can be an effective NFL running back, and if not, they need to start moving on from him because first round pick or not, they're giving other opportunities for playing time to him, and that's actively hurting them, in particular run plays, if he's not able to produce, because so far in his career, he hasn't been able to stay healthy and he hasn't been an explosive back and he hasn't helped him out of the backfield as a pass catcher. So, it's put up or shut up time for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And listen, I love talking to him. I love hearing what he says. And it really sounds like he has battled injuries, but he's got to show it. I mean, it's time for him to come into a season healthy and to produce the way that they expected him to when he came in. Isaiah Pacheco, again, Sam likes to pretend I'm like I'm the hype guy on Isaiah Pacheco. I think he's really big. I think he's really fast. I think he has the skill set to be a good back, and he's caught everything in training camp. I think we've talked about this a lot. His vision is not there yet. Now, can you simplify things? Can you make it a power run game and say, hey, you follow this guy on your run and only do that and maybe cut down the reads you have? You potentially can do that. And I've always been the Ronald Jones hype guy. I wrote about him in June about how he could help this offense. I think this, though, is kind of bigger picture philosophically for the Chiefs, because we've seen them run a lot of zone plays and a lot of RPOs, which is basically like, hey, clear out the guy in front of you, still can be a passing play, that sort of thing. When their offensive line, they have some maulers. They have guys like Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Orlando Brown, who like to go out and hit people. And so you would think that the strength there would be to pull those guys around, get some counter plays going, like we saw in the third preseason game against the Packers, then get your downhill backs like Pacheco and Jones with one field of vision, getting them downhill and having them put some punishment on some linebackers and safeties. But the Chiefs have been hesitant to do that. They've mostly run in the past kind of that zone run game where it's a little bit of a hybrid of the passing game, if you will, because you can still run RPOs off of it. So the question to me is whether they're going to change a lot of what they did last year to go to more of a power run game because you don't have Tyreek Hill. And now you have some more physical receivers in Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS who potentially can block better as well. So this might be more of a big picture thing, but I think overall the running backs remain a weakness or at least a question mark for this team. And this is put up or shut up time for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They need to figure out if he can play or not.
Okay, Jesse, I'm going to put you down for the under with the over-under of Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing totals at 700 is what I saw.
And I actually don't hate the over because I think they're giving him every opportunity. I think he is the clear number one back right now, but he's got to show it the first few weeks. I mean, they have basically handed him the keys. So he's got to take them and run with it and not get hurt. But right now, that's an unknown. It's an uncertainty.
Would be the rare draft pick and a first rounder at that who didn't pan out for the Chiefs over the last few years if it doesn't work out for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I want to skip to a position group on the defensive side, and that is linebacker. Nick Bolton, Willie Gay Jr., and apparently Leo Chenal, at least listed as a starter for the season opener. Are we in agreement that this is a better linebacking group than what the Chiefs put on the field last year? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think it's addition by subtraction. I mean, I think they were too slow at this spot. You know, when the Chiefs talked about their defense being too slow, they could pinpoint this position, specifically the Mike. You know, it was either Anthony Hitchens or Ben Neiman. Now Nick Bolton's at the Mike. And speed is not Nick Bolton's strength, but him being at the Mike means Willie Gay is going to be on the field a heck of a lot more often than he was last year. And that's certainly one of his strengths. So the simple answer for why the linebackers are better is just speed.
Yeah, it's about depth too right now, Sam. I mean, if those two guys stay healthy, you got to love where the Chiefs linebackers are. If you got Willie Gay and Nick Bolton in there, they look like they're in line for breakout years. You just got to hope they stay healthy and the Chiefs don't have to get further down the depth chart.
And I echo those sentiments. I mean, Blair and I were speaking with a group earlier, and I guess I used the term that it's the first time in a while I think you could feel a little excited about the Chiefs linebackers. I'm really intrigued by them. On the other hand, when you make the point about Leo Chenal, then you think to yourself, well, if that's indeed the starting trio in the base, you got a total of 3 years NFL experience among the three of them, right? 2, 1, and 0. So could that be exploited? I don't know. We'll see. But I'm excited to see them play and develop.
Gosh, and Willie Gay, remember what he said about his first year with the Chiefs, how lost he was. So, but yes, what I really like about at least the Bolton Gay combination is their ability to be run stoppers and succeed in pass coverage. I think the potential for that is there for those guys. Let's quickly go to the secondary, safeties and cornerbacks. This is where youth will be served for the Chiefs. When we talk about rookie starters, Trent McDuffie, of course, and I think playing time for Brian Cook, and certainly on the field in nickel packages. Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson. This is a fascinating position group to me, Sam.
Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit of a cop-out answer, but I think they're going to be worse in the first month and then better by the end of the year than they were last year. I think Justin Reed will get to where Tyrann Mathieu was, but I think he can't have the leadership qualities Tyrann Mathieu had because he's not as familiar with the defense. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu had played that defense for 3 years. We saw in his first year, it took the Chiefs a while to get where they wanted to be. I think McDuffie could be Charvarius Ward. I just think a rookie in his first NFL start, it's a lot of pressure to put on that guy. Fenton's probably going to be playing on the outside. I still think that's a question mark. So overall, I think they'll be better than they were at the end of last year. I just don't think it's going to be in week 1.
Yeah, I think, Sam, to echo that, I also think you kind of wonder about the addition by subtraction again. And Daniel Sorensen might be in the Chiefs Ring of Honor someday. He made some of the biggest plays in Chiefs history. And yet last year, I think we all know he was one of the biggest problems that they had on the back end. So we'll see kind of how all that balances out. But it's sort of what we talked about with the window. Like, for Brett Veach to make this play and trade Tyreek Hill and to get these guys in the secondary, and to seem like he hit on some of these draft picks, you feel really good about their potential prospects in 3 or 4 years, or even at the end of this year. How that looks against Arizona in week 1, you hold your breath a little bit.
Okay, so just to wrap it up, John asks, can you name a position, and I guess a single position that got worse from last year? I think we'd agree wide receiver 1 and safety 1, at least early on with the Chiefs. So, but when it comes to position groups, I don't see much drop off. I think what will have changed for the Chiefs when we add it all up at the end of the year is division competition got better, and teams like the Bills and the Bengals stayed good. And if the Chiefs end up with a worse record than last year, I don't think we'll be talking about how they got crushed because Tyreek Hill wasn't here or Tyrann Mathieu wasn't here. It will be because opposition got better. Chiefs have the most difficult schedule. I don't know what do the analytics say about the Chiefs' schedule? Is it 1 or 2 in terms of difficulty?
It is a gap between 1 and 2. I mean, they are so far ahead of the rest of the league and difficulty this year. I mean, it's like historically difficult. The first 8 teams they play had winning records last year. Then you get Jacksonville. Then you have to go to the Chargers, and you get the back-to-back Super Bowl participants from last year. So, I mean, it's the most difficult schedule I've seen for the first 3 months here.
Real quick, I'll be the guy that brings it up, but I think you got to throw a tight end on there too, just because Travis Kelce has been so good for so long. I mean, I love to bring this up, but he is the same age as Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski retired, then came back to the NFL, and then retired again, and now we're just expecting Travis Kelce to walk out there and be the best tight end in the NFL again. They're probably going to have to limit his snaps. He probably won't be able to do quite as much as he did. And, I mean, nobody wants to talk about it, but a decline is going to come. I mean, age comes for everybody. And so we'll see with that position and how productive he can be and how healthy he can remain, because he's been really healthy throughout his career, but also something to talk about and something to watch, because I don't think you can just Sharpie in Travis Kelce for 1,200 yards anymore and 100 catches. Health-wise and body-wise, they might have to limit him a little bit.
But they do like Noah Gray. That's something that we did see from training camp and in the preseason games. And Noah Gray seems, even though I was a little skeptical.
But you don't, Blair, yeah.
Even though I was a little skeptical, I have been convinced. And maybe he ends up being a legitimate pass receiving threat at tight end 2 that the Chiefs haven't had. You could say Demetrius Harris, but I don't. That wasn't much. So, all right, guys, we've gone over our allotted time, which is a great thing because there was a lot to talk about, and there will be much, much more to discuss after Sunday's game. We're going to start probably around 8 p.m. Central, and hope everybody can tune in then, and we're going to rehash the Chiefs' opening game over the Arizona Cardinals. All right, before we go, just give me a victory total prediction for the Chiefs this year. Not, just how many wins do the Chiefs have, and if they're not going to make the playoffs, let me know that. But I'll start and say I think they're an 11-win team, and then they're in the playoffs. Jesse, what do you say? What do you think?
10-7, get a wild card with the AFC. Chargers win the division, but nobody wants to face the Chiefs at the end of the season once the back end rookies and then also the receivers figure out what Mahomes is doing.
Mahomes has never played a road playoff game, so that would be interesting. All right, Sam.
Man, Jesse's going to be added to the Twitter dial today as far as taking the under on the Chiefs. I've got him at 12-5. All
right, Vahe.
I got him at 12-5 also, but all different results than McDowell's, just to differentiate. Also,
well, that would be 5-12, Vahe. So nice try.
Yeah. Okay, all different ways to get in there, and I think something like a possible three-way tie in the West, but they win it with the tiebreaker, and then we'll see them at home.
Who's the third team?
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah,
These are all theoretical.
Okay.
I just want to create confounding situations to ponder.
All right. Thanks for putting so much thought into this today, Bob.
We didn't have a big show prep today, but rest assured, we will continue to not have show prep in the future.
I know I need the remedial next week, so I'm here for you.
All right. Great catching up with you again. Really looking forward to this Chiefs season, especially with Jesse Newell, Vahe Gregorian, Sam McDowell, Herbie Tiopi. Big thanks to our producer, Monty Davis, George Howard on the assist, and props to First Federal for their sponsorship of our show. We'll talk to you guys on Sunday. Take care.